Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm doing the patch 13.21 notes, so if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, and let's get into it. To begin with, this is more of a follow-up patch to 13.20, as the patch 13.20 had the big jungle changes. It had a bunch of changes towards scaling, rune scaling, and nerfing down their ratios, buffing up their base values, and overall this is just a follow-up to that and adjustments to certain other things kind of surrounding the whole system. So Nexus Blitz is returning, very popular game mode, should be good, as people did want it back ever since it was re-released with Spirit Blossom, so that's good to see. Champion balance reset. The champion balance buff percent adjustments have been reset for all champions, so this will also adjust the balance of Nexus Blitz, should be interesting. You get all jungle pets, event spawn changes, champion adjustments to a bunch of things, item adjustments to a bunch of things. I know Ivan has a thing which is now no longer friend of the forest but enemy of the forest, which is a pretty neat change. Overall, all pretty cool. So Asol is the first champion being nerfed. He really benefited from game time going on a bit longer. The anti-snowballing changes really benefited him, and overall they're nerfing down his AP ratio on his Q, nerfing down the level scaling but buffing up the value on this. So this will be a buff at like level 9, but then it will balance out and be a nerf later on into the game. The burst damage also going to be losing its level scaling, but the damage is going to go up from 40 to 80 to 60 to 100. Going to be a slight nerf later on once again, and the AP ratio, I believe, will, oh no, the AP ratio has been untouched on this. Overall, this will be a pretty big tag down towards Asol, hurt his Q damage later on into the game, but mid-game, it should be a slight bit stronger when you hit those level 7 to 9 kind of spikes. Belbeth is going to have her E cooldown decrease. She got a mini kind of changed last patch, which adjusted her so she wasn't as good with Stridebreaker, building less tanky options, more push towards crit. Overall, it was a nerf to her, but they are buffing up the AD ratio on the pets this patch, so it's gonna be a very minor compensation buff. E cooldown gonna go from 24 to 18 to 20 to 16. Quite nice, as this is gonna be her second max ability. She will continue to Q max. So yeah, this does just incentivize Q max even more, but the 4 seconds is the big one here. This helps her early clear, and it will help her when she can maybe rotate it twice in a fight. Brand is getting a bunch of changes, which is to help him in the jungle. Overall, the main kind of takeaway here is his passive is going to do a decent amount more burn, and he's got a bit of a stat reshape, which is going to help him be a bit more durable during his early clear. Briar is going to be nerfed down, as she's overperforming now that people have learned how to play her correctly, build her correctly, and a bunch of just system changes. Overall has put her on a pretty good spot. So her attack speed growth is going to go from 2.3% to 2%. The passive Crimson Cars heal at bleeding target dies is going to go from 100% of remaining bleed to 125% of remaining bleed. This is a minor buff. And the W stack attack is going to have its AD ratio go down from 4% to 3.5% per 100 bonus AD. Overall, relatively small change. Gonna be a nerf though, so that's good to see. Caitlyn is gonna be pushed away from her obnoxious one-shot with ult and passive build, more towards her crit variation, so her crit strike chance is gonna go up on the passive. The cooldown on the ultimate is gonna go from 90 to 60 seconds to 90 seconds flat. The physical damage is gonna go from 300 to 750 to 300 to 700 flat. The bonus AD ratio is gonna go from 200% to 170% a bonus AD, and the critical strike chance ratio is gonna go up from 0 to 35% to 0 to 50%. Overall, we should try and tread water with the crit builds, but be a nerf down towards her lethality and fast strike variations. Dr. Mundo is going to be losing a percentage on the E at later ranks. It's going to go from 2 to 4 to 2 to 3%, and the bonus attack damage based on missing health is going to go from 0 to 6% to 0 to 40%. This is a really big nerf, actually. This wasn't in the kind of like preview, so they've added this in, but overall these are gonna really hurt Mundo once again. His champion is very much a low elo stomper, really struggles in high elo, so it kind of sucks up that he's not getting some early game compensation for being relatively large late game nerfs. Hecarim is having his AD growth increase from 3.2 to 3.7, and the duration is going to go up from 4 seconds to 5 seconds. He was a big loser of the Gust Walker changes, so he is getting a bit of compensation here. Jinx is now having her passive capped, so it no longer gets permanently excited of tower destruction, well, no longer gets excited of tower destruction past the first stack, but can now only get 5 stacks in total, so not a bad change there. Cassante is going to have his damage increased on all out on his passive. So 35% is going to go to 45 to 75%, scaling off 6, 11, 16 on levels. The Q cast time is going to go from 1,800 health needed to be at minimum cast duration, minimum cast time to 1,200. Another nice buff there. W Pathmaker is going to have its maximum channel time increased from 1 second to 1.5 seconds. So also going to give him a bit more damage reduction there. He is going to have his QE attack resets instantaneous, and he's got a bunch of bug fixes. So overall, pretty nice buffs towards Cassante, should give him about 2 to 3% win rate. LeBlanc is going to have her AP ratio increased on W by 10%, and her E AP ratio going to go up by 10%. Overall, she took a big hit when her AD variation got nerfed, and her AP version has been underperforming for a while, so they're just buffing it back up. Overall, this is going to be a good amount of win rate. This is 20% AP ratio increase to her combo. Should help her kill tankier targets. Should allow her to very much kill squishy targets. So, yeah, big change there. Masti is going to have his E cooldown go from 18 seconds to 14 seconds. This is a very big buff, as this is going to help his early game, his late game. It increases his clear speed, just gives a bit more uptime on this ability, and maybe allows him to rotate it twice in a fight. Morgana is going to have her W damage increased and her damage to monsters increased. Overall, this is mostly going to be focused towards jungle. I don't believe mid lane Morgana is viable. I did try it with these changes here for increase on the later rank. Will not push it into viability, but it might make it an option if you really do just want to flex Morgana into that direction. However, this going up and this going up, as this is your first max ability within the jungle, is really big, and she will definitely be an A to S tier jungler next patch. Rammus is going to have his Q damage decreased early on. It's going to go from 100 to 200 to 80 to 200, and the W armor is going to be decreased. So 35 is going to go to 30 flat, and he's going to lose 5% of total armor on the ratio here. So overall, big changes towards Rammus. He is definitely going to be nerfed down a decent amount. Seraphine is getting a huge amount of adjustments towards, well, helping her no longer be kind of restricted by the fact that she's really strong in the ADC role, and giving her a bit of power into the support and mid lane. So overall, that's kind of the shape going over. I'm not yet going into these changes. I'm not going to go over all of them, as it is a lot of changes, but that is the main kind of goal of these changes. Tahm Kench is going to have his passive magic damage go from 80 to 60 to 6 to 48, and the ratio is going to go from 2% AP, and the ratio is going to go from 3% to 5% bonus health. So overall, this is definitely encouraging more towards Heartsteel variation of Tahm Kench. I'm not a huge fan of these changes, as it does very much gatekeep him towards his item and the strength of the item, but as that is the route they are taking, he's definitely going to be stronger, as he's going to have access to a lot more bonus health. So yeah, these will end up being significant Tahm Kench buffs, along with the W Abyssal Dive, but this is fairly minimal. This is like 0.1% win rate. Like, it's going to be hardly noticeable. You don't tend to look for multiple Abyssal Dives within a team fight. It tends to be just your initiation. Varus is going to have his W damage increase, and the E slow is also going to be increased. So the damage on the passive is going to damage on the W passive is going to go from 7 to 27 to 7 to 31. A bit more there, so increasing the rank up incentive. And the E slow is going to go from 25 to 45 to 30 to 50%. So relatively nice change there. Apologies if you can hear the dog barking in the background. She is very noisy. Zyra is going to have a bunch of changes, very much also trying to push her towards jungle. Her passive attack speed ratio is gonna passive attack speed is gonna her level 1 attack speed is gonna go up. This is a nice change in helping her clear, well, being able to auto so she can clear faster. The passive is also gonna go up on the ratio, but not a bit on the flat base damage. The Q is also gonna go from 6200 to 6220, encouraging the max up of this ability. This is what you tend to go if you're playing mid lane or jungle Zyra. The AP ratio is also gonna go up by 5%, and the E is now going to go from 60 to 40 to 60 to 200. This is mainly to hit the fact that support Zyra tends to max this ability first, and the ratio is going to go up by 10% here. So overall, I'd say these are relatively big buffs towards Zyra mid and jungle, so be wary of that. It will also be a buff towards Zyra support for the most part. Hullbreaker is going to have its resists go from 10 to 75 to 10 to 60, and the ranged ones are also going to mirror in how they function. So 5 to 37.5 0.5, 25 to 30. So overall, yeah, relatively big nerf towards Hullbreaker later on in the game. Shouldn't affect it too much earlier on. Yeah, it's mostly just going to tag it in those like level 16 to 18 kind of range. First Strike is going to have its bonus damage go down from 8% to 7%. This is unfortunate as it is a very popular rune, and it probably needed more nerf towards the melee version, whereas ranged champions don't tend to abuse this as much. But there are some cases with it, things like Victor, of course, can use this rune. But the main concern here is that champions now go back to running Airy and Scorch to really harass out the opponent during laning phase. Phase Rush is also being nerfed towards melee champions. It's going to hurt Hakarim, Nunu, Garen, and there was one other, Maokai. These are the main users of this rune as melee champions. 36% to 25 to 50%, so overall relatively big nerf there. Jungle sustain changes are, we're going to have a bit or more healing within the jungle earlier on into the game. A couple of ARAM adjustments and Worlds Clash things. I'm not seeing any pet changes, actually. That is interesting. Wait, is it here? Maybe I missed it. Maybe it was this. 10% bonus AD. Never mind, I missed it. Yeah, this should allow AD champions to once again thrive within the jungle. Be wary of Graves. He's probably the best jungler of next patch. I definitely rank him as like an S+ champion. He was already really performing well this patch, and with these, this is just gonna ramp his clear speed so much. So yeah, be careful of that. Try him if you do enjoy the champion mode. So yeah, bunch of ARAM adjustments, Worlds Clash, Mythic Shop rotation, Soul Seeder Vayne, and a Chroma for her. Leaving the Mythic Shop, we're gonna see Lucian Renata, relatively nice skin. But the Chroma here is the China one, the 10th anniversary, so that will be very much a popular fan favorite one there, definitely. I know they are releasing these over time, so that's pretty cool. A bunch of bug fixes and quality of life changes, and then upcoming skins and chromas. Coven Syndra is being released this patch. They did a bunch of adjustments to the orbs and the hair. And then Kathy Cuties, we got Rumble, Jinx, Poppy, and Lulu. These are pretty nice. I'm not a huge fan of the skin line, but I know people are, so yeah, that's all cool. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.